The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, stretching higher than any human building back home. Alien voices echoed from every corner, some high-pitched, others low and rumbling, creating a strange music of tension. The room smelled faintly of ozone and something like sweet spices, smells humans had never encountered. Rows of seats curved around a massive central platform, where the council leaders sat, their eyes fixed on the newcomers, humans. Anna and Liam sat quietly near the edge of the human delegation. Both had been trained for this moment for years, though the enormity of it still made their hearts race. Humans were new here, a species that other worlds often dismissed. Yet humans were survivors, and Anna, looking around at the glittering alien faces, felt a surge of pride. The council expected weakness. They expected hesitation. They expected fear. "They think we're weak," Anna whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of conversations. Her brown hair was tied back neatly, and her uniform was crisp, though it had seen better days. Liam leaned closer, nodding slightly, his eyes scanning the chamber. "They always do," he replied. His jaw was set, his posture straight. To the aliens they looked like ordinary humans, maybe a little small and soft, nothing special. But inside, both of them burned with the knowledge of what humans could do. The first speaker was a tall, thin alien with skin that shimmered silver in the lights. It had 3 eyes and spoke in a voice that resonated deep inside the chest. "The council welcomes the humans," it said, each syllable precise and formal. "We recognize your species' recent emergence from a harsh world, though we question your capacity to contribute to the peace of our galaxy. Your kind is known for unpredictability." A murmur ran through the chamber. Some aliens tittered quietly, exchanging glances. Humans were unpredictable. That was the polite way of saying they were fragile, or worse, dangerous in the wrong way. Anna smiled faintly. Liam tapped his fingers lightly on the arm of his chair, as if agreeing with her unspoken thought. "They do not know us at all." A series of holographic projections lit up the platform, showing the different human colonies. Dusty planets, oceans that had swallowed entire cities, forests thick and unyielding. These were worlds humans had learned to survive on. The aliens looked unimpressed. They whispered among themselves, shaking their heads at the primitive technology and the rough living conditions. Liam leaned toward Anna again. "They think our homes are death traps. But that's exactly why we're ready for anything." Anna nodded. Humans had grown tough where others would have perished. The council didn't see the thousands of years of adaptation, the sheer will to live through conditions that would have killed other species in hours. They didn't see the instinct for survival that humans carried in every cell of their bodies. As the council continued to speak, Anna and Liam noticed the subtle gestures among the aliens. Some leaned in, curiosity mixing with condescension. Others seemed bored, scrolling on devices that projected glowing symbols in the air. But all eyes returned to the humans when the discussion turned to the galaxy's recent conflicts. A coalition of species had fought over resources in the Outer Rim, and while humans had not yet been involved directly, the council expected them to play the weak observer, the harmless new arrival. Then came a pause, as if the chamber itself was holding its breath. Anna saw it in the eyes of the council members. The slight smirk, the twitch of a tentacle, the almost imperceptible tilt of a head. Underestimation. That would be the human's first advantage. She tightened her grip on the notes she had brought, though she barely needed them. Humans did not always rely on plans. Sometimes instinct and quick thinking were enough. "Your species," another council member said, this one a short, round creature with soft green fur, "is said to survive worlds that kill others. Yet we must ask, can you maintain civility? Can you act without violence when faced with our more advanced technology?" Its voice was high and sing-song, mocking even in its politeness. Anna's lips curled into a small, almost invisible smile. Liam's fingers flexed on the edge of the table. Civility was one thing, survival was another. Humans could survive in ways aliens could never imagine. If the council thought survival meant surrender, they would soon learn the difference. The session dragged on, and humans were called to answer questions about trade, diplomacy, and technology. Liam spoke carefully, his words measured and polite, projecting calm confidence. Anna added details when needed, always careful to seem cooperative while subtly asserting their species' capability. The aliens nodded, some approvingly, some dismissively, but none dared underestimate the quiet intensity in the humans' voices. Between questions, Anna observed her fellow human delegates. Some were nervous, shifting in their seats. Some glanced nervously at the towering aliens, whose limbs stretched in impossible ways. But she saw determination in all of them. They carried the strength of worlds in their bones, the instinct to survive no matter what. That was humanity's secret weapon. As the session ended for a short break, aliens drifted away to private discussions. Anna and Liam stayed seated, letting the others leave. Around them, the chamber seemed to buzz with a new tension, subtle and quiet. They were outsiders, yes. But in that tension they felt something else. A recognition, even if unconscious, that humans were not to be treated lightly. Liam leaned back, exhaling slowly. "We've been underestimated before," he said softly. "And we'll be underestimated again." Anna smiled. "Then let's make sure they're very wrong when it matters." The humans stood, gathering their belongings. Outside, the council hall stretched endlessly, filled with light from distant stars. Ships flew between platforms, carrying delegates from hundreds of systems. In the bustling corridors, humans seemed small and ordinary, yet every eye that saw them felt the weight of something unspoken. Something dangerous if provoked. Later, in the private quarters, Anna and Liam discussed the day's events in detail. They reviewed notes on the alien species, their tendencies, their weaknesses. They spoke quietly, strategizing how humans could navigate a galaxy that did not yet understand them. Every plan, every observation was shaped by one truth: humans were not here to be weak. Humans were here to survive and, if necessary, to dominate in ways others could not imagine. The sun of a distant star filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the room. Anna looked out, imagining the stars beyond, and felt a thrill of anticipation. "The galaxy thinks we are fragile," she said. The mining colonies on the edge of human space were quiet under the twin suns, dust swirling over jagged rocks and rust-colored hills. Life there was harsh as it always had been. Humans had adapted to survive on these worlds, building small settlements that could withstand sandstorms, low oxygen, and occasional meteor showers. But that day, silence was broken by a distant rumble, low and threatening, that did not belong to the planet. Ethan stood at the observation deck of the colony command center, binoculars in hand, scanning the horizon. The sky above the rim of the planet was streaked with the lights of incoming ships. Their shapes were unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek, jagged, and bristling with weapons. They were aliens, many times larger than any human vessel, and they moved with precision, forming a line that circled the colony like predators closing in on prey. Clara joined him, her brow furrowed. She held a tablet displaying strategic data, troop positions, and the layout of the colony's defensive installations. "They're faster than we expected," she said. "And more organized." Ethan shook his head, a small grin on his face. "Then we'll have to be smarter. That's what we do." The aliens landed several smaller ships near the mining hubs, deploying troops immediately. From a distance, their soldiers looked terrifying, tall, armored, with elongated limbs and clawed hands. The humans at the colony, mostly miners and engineers, fled to shelters and defensive positions, hearts pounding. But the trained squads, led by Ethan and Clara, moved with calm precision. Ethan gave his first orders. "Divide into 3 groups. Clara, you take the northern ridge. I'll take the eastern perimeter. Keep communication open. Watch their movements and wait for my signal." Clara nodded. She rounded up her team, moving silently along narrow paths carved into the rocky terrain. Ethan's team moved separately, hiding among the dust clouds and low rocks. Both leaders knew that alien technology might be superior, but humans had something that no alien could predict: instinct, creativity, and a willingness to take risks that others would never consider. The first shots came suddenly. Alien scouts had found a small supply station, and their laser beams cut through the air with sharp precision. Civilians screamed as explosions shook the ground. Ethan's squad remained hidden, watching the aliens over the ridges, noting their patrol patterns, the timing of their movements, and the gaps in their lines. "They're overconfident," Ethan whispered to his squad. "They think they have us trapped. They don't realize that the planet itself is our ally." Clara moved her squad quietly into position, using narrow tunnels and shadows cast by jagged cliffs to remain unseen. Her team had studied the terrain for weeks, memorizing every curve of rock, every ridge, every crevice. The aliens, despite their sensors, missed the subtle signs of movement, assuming the humans would flee or hide. Then Ethan signaled. Small drones, light, fast, and cheap, sprang from hidden launchers. They flew in arcs designed to confuse and distract. Explosions went off at precise intervals, drawing the alien soldiers into the traps humans had prepared. Mines buried in sand detonated beneath landing crafts, flipping some onto their sides and disabling others. From above, the alien fleet could see the chaos below, but their sensors could not read the terrain as humans did. Ethan's team struck from unexpected angles, attacking supply lines and communications, disabling weapons before the aliens could respond properly. Clara's squad emerged from the northern ridge, firing in perfect coordination. The aliens stumbled, unprepared for tactics they could not anticipate. One alien commander barked orders in a strange, harsh language. Soldiers moved to form lines, but every step they took led them into another trap. The humans were everywhere and nowhere at once, appearing from ridges, tunnels, and dust clouds. Ethan and Clara coordinated via silent hand signals, making the alien soldiers feel surrounded even when only a few humans were visible. On the ground, civilians peeked from shelters, watching in awe as humans, smaller and seemingly weaker, managed to control the battlefield. The aliens were fast, their weapons advanced, but humans were clever. Every move was calculated, every trap designed to exploit weaknesses in alien tactics that only humans could perceive. Hours passed, but the battle felt timeless to those fighting it. The alien fleet tried to regain control, deploying larger ships to bombard the colony from orbit. Ethan and Clara's squads anticipated this. Using a combination of mirrors, reflective materials, and dust clouds, they created illusions that made alien sensors misread the terrain. Bombs and missiles struck empty ground, leaving the invaders frustrated and confused. By the time the first alien reinforcements arrived, the humans had already crippled their forward units. Ethan led a flanking maneuver, slipping between two cliffs that the aliens assumed were impassable. Clara's squad launched a coordinated attack from the northern ridge, catching the aliens between two precise assaults. Panic spread among the enemy troops. They had expected easy victory, but humans fought in ways they could not predict. Communication with human command centers relayed updates across the galaxy. Other worlds had been monitoring the conflict from afar, curious about how the small colonies would fare. Whispers began immediately, humans were clever, not just lucky. Stories of their unconventional tactics spread like wildfire, challenging the long-held assumptions about their fragility. In the middle of the battle, Ethan paused to survey the scene. Alien ships were disabled, many scattered across the mining fields, while the surviving soldiers were trapped in positions where humans could control every approach. He saw Clara signaling from the ridge, a small flare indicating she had secured her position. Everything was going according to plan. Yet Ethan did not celebrate. There was work to do. Humans were careful and precise, knowing that even a small mistake could cost lives. Civilians had to be protected, and the remaining alien forces needed to be either captured or driven off. Using the terrain once more, humans moved silently, cutting off escape routes and disabling enemy weapons with a mixture of explosives and targeted strikes. By the evening, the dust had settled. Fires burned in the distance, and the sky was streaked with smoke and the glow of damaged ships. Human squads regrouped at the command center. Ethan and Clara checked in with every team, making sure no one was hurt unnecessarily. Against overwhelming numbers, humans had not only survived, they had won decisively. Across the galaxy, news reached other systems. Aliens who had mocked humans as weak and fragile began to rethink their assumptions. Stories of the battle spread quickly. Deathworlders are clever, one diplomat reported. They can fight in ways we cannot predict. Another whispered in fear, we underestimated them. That was a mistake we cannot repeat. Ethan and Clara walked through the colony, helping civilians repair damaged structures and tending to the injured. They saw fear in the eyes of some, but also awe. Humans had shown that even when outnumbered, even when the odds were stacked against them, they could survive and even triumph. Late at night, after the battle was over and the colony had been secured, Ethan and Clara stood together on a cliff overlooking the mining fields. The ruins of alien ships glimmered faintly in the moonlight, a reminder of the day humans had turned the tables. They'll tell stories about this, Clara said softly. They'll remember the humans as clever, dangerous. Ethan nodded. Let them remember. But they won't know the half of it. They've only seen the first strike. And as the twin suns set behind the distant mountains, casting long shadows across the red dust, humans celebrated quietly, not because they had destroyed their enemy, but because they had survived against impossible odds, using brains, courage, and ingenuity. The galaxy had begun to notice, and the legend of human cleverness had taken its first true step into history. The aliens had thought humans were fragile. They had thought humans could be controlled or ignored. But that day, at the mining colonies on the edge of human space, they learned the first lesson. Deathworlders were not weak, and their strength was something no one could predict. Humans had struck first, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The council chamber was tense as humans returned from the border skirmishes. Their reputation had begun to spread, and the whispers of clever, unpredictable humans reached even the most distant corners of the galaxy. But today's meeting was different. The council wanted to test them. Mia and Noah sat among the human delegation, listening as an alien diplomat, tall and spindly with translucent green skin, addressed them. Its many eyes flicked across the humans with a strange mix of suspicion and curiosity. The council demands that your species show mercy to the inhabitants of the Quran colony, it said. They have been deemed hostile and dangerous. You are to restrain yourself and act with moderation. You are to demonstrate control and compassion. Mia exchanged a glance with Noah. Her eyes narrowed slightly. They want us to appear weak, she said quietly, almost to herself. Noah nodded, leaning closer. Mercy doesn't mean surrender. We can follow the council's request, but on our own terms. The humans had learned from every encounter that survival was about balance. Mercy was not weakness. Mercy was strength used wisely. But cruelty disguised as control, or mercy forced by outside pressure, could lead to disaster. They had to act, and they had to act decisively. When the humans arrived at the Quran system, the hostile colony was ready. Ships and defensive stations bristled with weapons, their commanders expecting the humans to hesitate. They thought the humans' reputation was a story, nothing more. They were wrong. Mia led a squad of humans aboard sleek, low-profile ships. Her team was small but precise, trained in rapid strikes and minimal casualties. Noah followed with the second wave, carrying equipment to disable systems without unnecessary damage. The human ships moved silently through the Quran orbital defenses, avoiding radar sweeps and sensor nets that were supposed to detect them immediately. The first strike came not with weapons but with disruption. Small drones flew ahead of the human fleet, hacking into the colony's communication networks. Alarms blared, but the humans' actions were measured, targeting only the channels used to organize attacks. Panic spread quickly among the Quran soldiers, who could not understand how a force so small could move with such precision. Mia's voice came over the comms to her team. Focus on control points. Disable their weapons but do not harm civilians. We take only what is necessary. Noah added, they'll think we're cautious. That's when we strike in ways they won't expect. Using a combination of speed, technology, and terrain advantage, humans infiltrated the colony's defensive structures. Small teams moved inside the stations, neutralizing weapons before the aliens could fire. In corridors, Quran soldiers were surprised by the humans' calm and precise movements. Humans did not panic. Humans did not hesitate. They were not reckless, but they were unstoppable in their efficiency. An alien commander shouted orders in their harsh, clicking language, but the humans had already anticipated his strategies. Every retreating step the Qurans tried to take led them into a controlled containment area, where they could no longer organize a counterattack. Mia paused for a moment, watching the activity on her tablet. Her squad had disabled the colony's main defense grid without a single human casualty. We're in control, she said quietly. We could crush them now if we wanted. But we won't. Not yet. Noah looked at her with a faint smile. Mercy isn't about letting them go unpunished. It's about giving them a chance to learn. They've had plenty of time to make the right choice. They haven't. In the central control hub, humans confronted the Quran leaders. The aliens had been trained to expect domination, fear, or retreat, but not the strange mixture of calm authority and firm control that the humans showed. Mia stepped forward, her voice steady. We do not wish unnecessary harm, but we will enforce rules to maintain peace. You may live, but you will obey the laws of this sector from now on. Any aggression will be met with consequences. The Quran leaders looked at her in disbelief. No one had ever spoken to them like this. Not a conqueror, not a diplomat, not a soldier. The humans were not weak, yet they were not cruel. They were decisive, clear, and unshakable. Outside, the human squads maintained strict control, ensuring no soldiers could escape without surrendering. Small groups of civilians were guided to safe zones, protected from the chaos that would have engulfed them if the humans had acted like other species might have. The humans were merciful, but only on their own terms. Back at the colony, alien observers from other worlds watched through communication feeds. Their murmurs were quick and filled with astonishment. They could have destroyed them, one diplomat said. But they chose control, precision, discipline. No species would have acted like this, another whispered. Humans are unpredictable yet deliberate. Merciful but not weak. Dangerous. By the time the Quran colony surrendered, humans had achieved something remarkable. They had enforced peace without unnecessary bloodshed, asserting authority and control in a way that left the entire council stunned. For the first time, many aliens realized that humans' kindness was a choice, not a weakness. Mercy was a tool, and humans knew exactly when and how to use it. Mia and Noah regrouped with their teams in the command center. "They'll remember this," Noah said, leaning back in his chair. "Not because we were merciful, but because we were human. Calculated. Strong." Mia nodded. "This is what they don't understand. They see our actions and think we are simple. But every choice is deliberate. Mercy, strength, survival, they all come from the same instinct. We act because it is necessary, not because we are weak." As the humans departed from the Quran system, the alien council watched them closely. Their faces showed a mixture of fear and awe. Some whispered of alliances, others of treaties, but all began to see a pattern. The neutral system had always been a place of calm. Its twin suns bathed planets in gold and silver light, while trade routes wove peacefully between the worlds. Merchants, explorers, and scientists thrived here without interference. But that calm shattered the moment the warlike coalition arrived. Hundreds of ships appeared at the edge of the system, cutting through space like knives, bristling with weapons and shields. Sophie stood on the bridge of the human command ship, scanning the incoming fleet. Her jaw was tight, her mind sharp. "They're more organized than anything we've faced before," she said. Her hands danced across the console, activating tactical overlays and scanning movement patterns. Jack leaned over her shoulder, his face calm, eyes narrow. "Then we'll make them less organized." He tapped on the holographic map, showing the coalition fleet in formation. "They're expecting humans to hold back, to fight defensively. Let's show them that restraint is not weakness." The humans' forces were smaller in number, but each ship was piloted by highly trained crews who had survived worlds no one else could live on. Their tactics were unconventional, their thinking unpredictable. As the coalition began their advance, the humans split into multiple groups, each moving in ways that seemed reckless at first glance. The first wave of attack was almost silent. Small, fast ships darted between the coalition's cruisers, striking weak points in engines and weapon systems. Explosions flared briefly, and the coalition ships responded with volleys of lasers that hit nothing but empty space. The humans moved as if they were everywhere at once, vanishing before counterattacks could land. Sophie directed one group to take the northern approach. "They'll think we're going for a direct fight," she said. "Instead, we cut their supply lines. We starve them of mobility before they realize what's happening." Jack coordinated another team through asteroid fields and debris clouds, using the terrain to mask their approach. Coalition ships scrambled to intercept, but every attempt ended in confusion. Humans struck where the aliens did not expect and vanished before the enemy could respond. On the planet below, the coalition tried to land troops to seize control. Sophie watched the monitors, seeing small human squads intercept them. Humans used traps, environmental hazards, and terrain to their advantage. Explosions erupted in sand dunes, dust clouds hiding movements that seemed impossible. Coalition troops fell back, their confidence shaken. Jack's voice came over the comms. "We're hurting them. Keep pushing. Don't give them room to breathe." The coalition commanders were beginning to panic. They had expected to overwhelm humans with numbers, to strike fear into their small forces. But every move they made was anticipated. Every attempt to regroup was intercepted. The humans were playing a game the aliens did not understand, using speed, surprise, and intelligence as weapons. Sophie's team executed a bold maneuver. A group of fast attack ships drew a portion of the coalition fleet into a narrow channel between two planets. The coalition thought they were flanking humans, but the humans had predicted this. From hidden positions, human ships struck from multiple directions, disabling key vessels and forcing the rest to retreat in disarray. Meanwhile, Jack's squads on the ground secured control over the neutral planet's spaceports and defense systems. The coalition could not land reinforcements without being intercepted. Civilians were protected, and human squads moved with calm precision. Every action was deliberate, every strike measured. Mercy was shown where possible, but there was no hesitation in stopping aggression. Hours passed. The coalition tried to reorganize, launching a massive assault on one of the moons. They underestimated the humans' ability to use both space and ground in coordination. Sophie ordered an orbital sweep, striking only the enemy positions while leaving the civilian infrastructure intact. The coalition ships were caught in crossfire, and many were destroyed or disabled. Jack led a ground assault that seemed reckless to any observer. His team moved quickly through rocky canyons, attacking supply depots and command centers that the coalition thought safe. Explosions shook the ground as alien forces tried to respond, but the humans had already anticipated every move. Jack's team moved as shadows, precise and unstoppable, cutting off enemy retreats and forcing surrenders without unnecessary casualties. As the battle raged, Sophie and Jack coordinated their forces like a single mind. Humans attacked and retreated, lured the coalition into traps, and struck in ways no alien had predicted. It was daring, seemingly reckless, but flawless in execution. The coalition realized too late that they had underestimated the Deathworlders completely. In the central command ship, the coalition leaders shouted in their harsh, clicking languages, trying to maintain order. But the human strategies left them trapped. Ships were lost, supply lines destroyed, and morale shattered. Civilians and neutral worlds watched in awe as humans, smaller in number and seemingly weaker, dominated a force that had been considered unbeatable. Finally, after long hours of careful and decisive action, the dust settled. The coalition ships that remained fled, broken and humiliated. Entire fleets had been disabled or captured, and ground forces had surrendered. Sophie and Jack's humans had not only defended the neutral system, they had imposed consequences that no species dared ignore. On the bridge of her ship, Sophie allowed herself a brief sigh. "It's over," she said, her eyes scanning the remnants of the coalition forces. "They'll think twice before attacking anyone again." Jack leaned against the console, arms crossed. "They'll remember this day. They'll remember how humans fought. They'll remember what happens when Deathworlders stop being kind." Indeed, the galaxy began to take notice. Messages from distant systems spread quickly. The humans' actions were described as daring, unpredictable, and efficient. Diplomats and leaders who had once dismissed humanity as weak began to rethink their assumptions. Deathworlders were clever, adaptable, and willing to strike with deadly precision when needed. On the ground, Sophie and Jack oversaw the securement of the neutral planets. Civilians came out of hiding, looking at the humans who had saved them yet controlled the situation with calm authority. "They fought for us," a traitor whispered. "But they made it clear that if we or anyone else attacks, there will be consequences we cannot imagine." In private, Sophie and Jack reviewed the operation. Every strike, every maneuver had been deliberate. Humans had shown mercy where possible, but they had also shown the galaxy that mercy could end, and when it did, Deathworlders were unstoppable. "They won't underestimate us again," Jack said quietly. Sophie shook her head with a small smile. "They still don't understand us fully. But that's fine. Let them learn slowly." From the observation deck, the stars stretched infinitely ahead. The human ships moved quietly through space, leaving behind a system safe from aggression, yet marked with a warning. Humans had not sought conquest, but they had established control. Their presence alone was now a deterrent. Everywhere the battle was reported, whispers carried the same message. The humans had acted decisively, cunningly, and without unnecessary cruelty. They were not weak. They were not reckless. And they were no longer merely kind by default, they were kind by choice. That day, Sophie and Jack, leading the Deathworlders, had done more than win a battle. They had shown the galaxy what it truly meant when humans chose not to be kind. Fear and respect spread in equal measure. The coalition that had attacked the neutral system would think twice before ever crossing paths with Deathworlders again. Sophie turned to Jack one last time, watching the twin suns of the system set over distant planets. "They'll remember today," she said. Jack nodded. "And when they do, they'll know what happens when humans decide enough is enough." In the vastness of space, human ships glimmered quietly, a symbol of controlled power, clever strategy, and calculated strength. The galaxy had witnessed the turning point, the moment Deathworlders stopped being kind, and no one would ever forget it. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with energy, but this time it was different. Whispers filled the air, quiet and nervous, as delegates from dozens of species exchanged glances. Something had changed, though no one wanted to speak it aloud. The humans had returned, not just as survivors but as a force that could not be ignored. Lily and Ryan walked into the chamber, side by side, moving with calm confidence. Their steps were measured, their expressions serene, and yet the air seemed to shift wherever they went. Aliens who had once whispered about humans as fragile and unpredictable now stared in awe. Some leaned forward in their seats as if trying to read their faces for some hidden weakness. There was none. "Have you ever seen humans like this before?" whispered a blue-skinned diplomat to a tall, horned colleague. "No," the other replied, voice trembling slightly. They are not what we thought. They are something else entirely." Lily glanced at Ryan, a small, knowing smile on her face. "They think we are just lucky," she said softly, barely audible even to him. Ryan nodded. They've been watching. They've seen our choices. They've seen what happens when we decide enough is enough. The council was in session again, but the humans did not need to speak to command attention. Delegates fell silent as the two moved among them, answering questions calmly, offering explanations in measured tones. Every answer carried the subtle weight of experience. The knowledge that humans had survived worlds others could not, had fought battles against impossible odds, and had acted with both mercy and force when it was required. Stories of their recent victories were already spreading. The Quran colony, the neutral system, and countless border conflicts, all of it painted a picture of humans that no alien had expected. They were clever, fearless, and merciful, but only when it suited them. The galaxy had learned a new lesson. Kindness was not weakness, and humans could be unstoppable when needed. A council leader, a massive alien with segmented limbs and a voice like rolling thunder, cleared his throat. "Humans," he said, his tone careful, almost reverent, "your actions have exceeded our expectations. You have shown restraint, strategy, and strength unlike any other species. We are beginning to understand you." Lily inclined her head politely. "We act according to what is necessary," she said. "Mercy is a choice, not a default. Strength is responsibility, not just power." The aliens listened, and many of them nodded slowly, as if the weight of her words sank into their very understanding. Some were afraid, some were amazed, but all were changed. Humans were no longer newcomers, no longer underestimated. They were a species that could not be ignored. In the halls outside the council chamber, human and alien aides hurried about, delivering reports, managing logistics, and ensuring communication flowed smoothly. Lily and Ryan walked among them, observing quietly. The humans' presence was calm but authoritative. No one challenged them, no one dared. "Do you think they'll ever underestimate us again?" Ryan asked softly. Lily shook her head. "Not after today. Not after everything we've done. They've seen what humans are capable of. They'll respect us or fear us, but they won't ignore us." The council convened a special session to discuss recent conflicts. Aliens from dozens of systems presented reports, each one noting the humans' clever strategies, the precise use of resources, and the controlled force applied in every battle. Whispers of admiration, sometimes mixed with fear, spread across the room. One diplomat, smaller and timid-looking, ventured to speak. "It seems the humans, they fight differently. They survive when no one else could. They make choices that are beyond our understanding." Lily smiled faintly. "That is because we survive through thought, instinct, and will. We adapt. We act when necessary. That is how humans endure." Ryan added, "We are not invincible. But we are prepared. And we will act according to our judgment, not according to others' expectations." The council paused, the weight of their words settling over every delegate. Humans had proven that strength was not merely physical or technological. It was moral, intellectual, and instinctive. They could show mercy, but they could also enforce consequences that no one dared ignore. Outside the chamber, messengers carried news of human actions across the galaxy. Systems that had once mocked the Deathworlders now told stories in hushed tones. Merchants, scientists, and diplomats shared the accounts of human courage, strategy, and control. Even in distant worlds where humans had never set foot, the legend was spreading. Back in the council, Lily and Ryan observed quietly as alien leaders debated how to handle future relations. Some argued for alliances, others for caution, but all were united in one thought: humans were no longer the species they had assumed them to be. Murmurs echoed, "Deathworlders are not weak. They are precise. Merciful yet ruthless when needed. Clever. Unpredictable." And that was exactly the point. Humans had controlled the narrative without arrogance, acted decisively without cruelty, and shown a strength that could not be measured simply by weapons or numbers. The galaxy had witnessed the day humans chose not to be kind, and it would not forget. Lily and Ryan walked through the grand halls, observing alien delegates bowing subtly, stepping aside, and speaking in quieter, more respectful tones. It was not fear alone that held the room, it was understanding. Humans had acted with intention and clarity, and the effect was permanent. "Do you think they understand us now?" Ryan asked. Lily looked at him, eyes calm but serious. "They understand a part of us. But the full truth, they will never fully grasp. They can see our actions, but they cannot imagine the worlds we've survived, the choices we've made, or the instinct that drives us." Even so, humans no longer had to hide who they were. Their reputation had been cemented. Stories of courage, strategy, and calculated mercy would be passed from council to council, from planet to planet, for generations to come. In the quiet moments, Lily and Ryan reflected on the journey. They had traveled from harsh worlds where survival was a daily challenge to a galaxy that underestimated them at every turn. And yet, with every step, they had proven the same lesson over and over. Humans were adaptable, clever, and relentless when necessary. Mercy was not weakness, strength was not recklessness. And when humans chose, their actions left marks that no one could erase. The sun of a distant star shone through the council windows, casting light across the chamber. The humans walked calmly, smiling faintly, appearing almost ordinary. But in that calm was power. In that quiet was control. In that smile was the knowledge that the galaxy had changed forever. Delegates whispered among themselves, stories forming in their minds. Tales of battles fought, victories won, and mercy chosen, but on human terms, would be told for generations. Histories would note the day when humans showed their true strength, not by conquest but by choice, intelligence, and controlled power. Do you think they'll ever forget? Ryan asked, voice low. No, Lily said, looking out at the distant stars. Not ever. And they shouldn't. The humans had walked among the galaxy with restraint, intelligence, and calculated force. They had survived worlds no other species could live on, fought battles no one expected them to fight, and shown mercy no one thought possible, but only when it suited their judgment. From that day on, the name human carried weight across the stars. Deathworlders were no longer underestimated. They were respected. Feared perhaps, but respected. And the legends of their actions, of strategy, intelligence, and choice, would grow for generations, inspiring awe and caution wherever their stories were told. Lily and Ryan left the council chamber quietly, their footsteps measured, their expressions serene. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and they had learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. Kindness could be strength, restraint could be power, and humans, the Deathworlders, had decided how they would be remembered. In the vastness of space, humans moved among the stars with calm purpose. Their ships, their people, their decisions, all spoke of a species that could not be underestimated. Stories of that day when humans chose how to act and showed the galaxy their true power, would be told forever. And so, the legends were born.